There are a couple of major classifications of matter: the states of matter and the compositions of matter. The states of matter describe how the particles are arranged, whereas the compositions of matter will describe the types of particles that are present. There are 3 different states of matter that you need to know: solids, liquids, and gases. Solids have a definite shape and volume, and this happens because the molecules pack tightly together and cannot move around each other. There are 2 types of solid: crystalline and amorphous. In crystalline solids, molecules have an organized structure with a repeated pattern known as a lattice. Examples would be diamonds and quartz, and even things like snowflakes and table salt, because all of the molecules are in this nice repeated pattern. The second type are amorphous solids, where there's no repeating pattern for the molecules. So things like rubber and plastic, where the molecules kind of randomly pack together and there's no repeated pattern whatsoever, would be considered amorphous. Next are liquids, and these assume the shape of their container, so they don't have a definite shape, but they still have a definite volume. This occurs because while the molecules are still stuck together like they are in solids, they aren't fixed in place, and they can move freely around each other, making it so that they can conform to the shape of their container. Think about a tall, skinny glass of water and pouring this into a wider, short glass. The water molecules stay together and retain the same volume, but they can form to the shape of its container. The last are gases, and these have no definite shape and have no definite volume. While gas molecules will collide and there are some interactions there, they basically just fly around each other and don't stick together, and therefore they can conform to both the shape and the volume of whatever container the gas is in. Think of a piston moving up and down, where the number of air molecules will stay the same, but as the piston moves, the volume the air takes up will change. As it moves up, the volume or space of the container will increase, and the gas will then expand to fill the space. As it moves down, the volume of the container decreases, and the air molecules will then get pushed down with it, or compressed. The ability to change the volume of gases make them compressible, whereas solids and liquids are considered incompressible. And technically, there's a 4th state of matter called plasma, and it makes up 99% of all of the matter in our known universe, but that's way beyond the scope of this chemistry course and really most science courses, so don't worry about it. Alright, so the other classification are the compositions of matter. The easiest way to learn this is to break it down using a flowchart with all matter at the top of that flowchart. Next is to determine how many substances are present. Is there only one substance present, or are there 2 or more substances present? Remember, substances are anything that retain constant chemical composition and properties. If only one substance is present, then great, it's considered a pure substance. These can either be elements, which are fundamental substances that cannot be broken down into simpler substances, or they can be compounds, which are composed of 2 or more elements. And these can be broken down into simpler substances. Examples of elements would be H, H2, and also O and O2. Even though H2 and O2 both have multiple atoms making them molecules, they cannot be broken down into simpler substances, therefore making them elements and not compounds. You can't break down hydrogen into something simpler than hydrogen, and same goes for oxygen. Some examples of compounds would be H2O or NaCl or C6 H12O6. Really just any molecule where there's multiple elements present. However, if there are 2 or more substances present, then it's considered a mixture. And then mixtures can be broken down further into either homogeneous mixtures or heterogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures appear uniform throughout, and all the substances within mix really nicely with each other. Water and salt would be a great example of this, because if you throw in some salt and water and you give it a mix, the salt will dissolve, and then you're left with this really clean solution. On the other hand, heterogeneous mixtures have visually distinguishable components. Water mixed with some dirt would be a great example, because you can see the chunks of dirt floating in the water, and you can clearly see what is water and what is dirt. Understand this chart and you'll crush any question regarding the compositions of matter. And that wraps up the 2 major classifications of matter. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned a thing or two about science.